Well, hello Bond fans, and welcome to another Bond myth being debunked once and for all. It concerns this famous scene from 1979's Moonraker starring Roger Moore, and it is a prime example of the Mandela effect, because a lot of Bond fans and general cinema audiences seem to remember this exact scene in the cinema. Dolly having braces when she first meets Richard Keel's Jaws, of course with the steel teeth. And it would have been a great scene for comedic effect if she had braces, but the truth of the matter is the braces were never there in the first place. And here is the evidence.
This particular myth is being debated since the 1990s, and in August 2025, a Substack user called The Dark Herald wrote an article pitching yet another highly specific media history-based explanation to save his own childhood memory from being called a hallucination. Let's look at that and take an original 35mm screening copy of Moonraker as evidence. While the writer acknowledges that actress Blanche Ravaillac didn't wear braces during filming, he writes that in US theatrical prints, someone at United Artists slipped in an optical gag. For this to be true, United Artists would have had to alter the film at the master level. Now, in 1979, you could not simply alter individual final release prints on a whim. Release prints were made from duplicate negatives, so-called internegatives. To add braces to Dolly's teeth, an optical effects artist would have had to perform frame-by-frame photochemical rotoscoping on the master footage, create an altered internegative, and use that specific negative to strike thousands of US prints. If Eon Productions in London held the original camera negative, which has no braces, United Artists would have had to do this work entirely on a duplicate element shipped to the US. And all that trouble just for a visual gag? The most vulnerable part of the Dark Herald's argument is his assertion that the 1979 anti-piracy crackdown and MGM's subsequent absorption of United Artists successfully destroyed every single US print. This crackdown on theatrical prints was never 100% effective. Thousands of 35mm prints of 1970s blockbusters slipped into the hands of private collectors, eccentric projectionists, and regional drive-ins, just like the one you are looking at right now. Had thousands of US prints had this glaring visual alteration, at least one rogue 35mm collector print with the braces would have surfaced in the vintage film community by now. But it hasn't. Even before this article, a variety of cinema goers, not just from the US, swear not only to having seen the braces in the cinema, but also on particular VHS releases, and that they were digitally removed for subsequent home video releases. Now, that would have been almost impossible. Any attempt to remove braces would have required physical, photochemical, or highly destructive optical printer work on the film elements, which simply didn't happen for a minor character detail. With the help of the popular James Bond media preservation website, the 007 Dossier, the following clips clearly show that none of the early home video releases had braces or any sign of altering to the film footage. The CBS-Fox release, no braces. On Betamax, the same result, no braces. Surprise, surprise, the RCA SelectaVision video disc also shows no braces. And finally, a 1986 German Video 8 transfer also shows no braces. And if that doesn't convince you, let's look again at the original 35mm projection copy that was shown in cinemas. Also, no braces. Just to be safe, it's always a good idea to ask the actress in question. She should know, right? Well, here is her response by text to renowned French Bond expert Laurent Perriot. So, with two theories being fairly implausible, why do so many still distinctly remember having seen the braces? There are several theories for that. The most prominent is the Sampo Mini Visa commercial, in which actor Richard Keel pays at the supermarket and encounters a cashier with braces. There is the visual gag, and it works nicely. Once the clip found its way into the internet decades ago, it cemented that image in people's heads, where it got mixed up with the film Moonraker. The second theory is that once the VHS tapes became available, they were mostly played on old CRT screens in people's homes, which had dozens of phosphor triads, groups of 3 phosphor dots colored red, green, and blue on the inside of the CRT display. There are also horizontal scan lines visible as alternating colored and black lines, especially when a progressive scan signal with below maximum vertical resolution is displayed. Both could have contributed to Dolly's teeth appearing distorted, giving the impression that she has braces. When you grew up in VHS times, like I did, and the tape you got was a bit older or recorded from a television rerun, the quality would have suffered and intensified the effect. So, unless some one of you has an altered 35mm copy somewhere in your cellar as definitive proof, consider the Dolly had braces myth debunked.